This is NDTV, and you're watching Classics.
Hello and welcome to Walk the Talk. I am Shekhar Gupta in Bombay's new financial district, and my guest today, one of the most prominent faces Indian bureaucracy has ever produced, Mr. M Damodaran, Chairman of SEBI. Welcome to Walk the Talk.
Thank you. Pleasure being
It's
with
been
you.
some journey from civil servant to banker to regulator.
It's an interesting journey, eventful journey too.
Which is-
I think the challenges on both sides, different kinds of challenges. Some of the responses are similar. They're not situation specific. They're not institution specific. There are certain common skill sets that are necessary. Some are situation specific, and you learn on the job.
What do you learn as a civil servant that's useful as a banker?
I think the ability to look at two sides, the ability to look at alternatives, hopefully the ability to take decisions, which I must say is on the decline these days as you look around you.
In the civil service?
In the civil service, as much outside of the civil service too. I think people are shying away from decision making, and that is, I think, an emerging problem.
But why so? What is causing that to happen?
I think the entire way accountability has been defined in terms of punishing sins of commission, not punishing sins of omission, seems to be relative safety in not doing anything and staying away from decision.
Right. So you're safer if you do nothing.
That seems to be the way people read the present situation, and one needs to do something about that to see that.
Well, I've known many secretaries in a particular ministry, Ministry of Defense, namely, who become so worried in their last few months that CBI may come visiting, that they don't decide on anything.
I think someone ought to address this issue. If that is a very major concern, if that's a concern that exists at senior levels, somebody ought to address it. At an individual level, each officer needs to address it. He needs to realize so long as he can establish bona fides, it's possible to take decisions and go along. But I think as a system, you need to address that. We've heard talk about it's getting addressed, but nothing's happened.
Did you see that happening while you were in civil service, actively in civil service?
I think in the earlier days, the civil service was an entirely different ball game. I think when we joined service, I'm not saying the past is better, the future is worse. We need to work on some things. When we joined service, we had people who groomed us in our early years. We had mentoring. We had value systems that were taught to us. Today, you have excellent people in civil service. I don't think they have the time to, or they don't create the time to build
Also in the
them, yes.
States now, you get transferred every 3 months. So how do you build the temperament of standing up to the political establishment?
If you don't see transfer as a problem, and I don't think we need to see transfer as a problem. I've had several transfers. If your bags are packed and you're ready to go, and that's a signal that you communicate to those that threaten you with transfers, it's no longer a threat. They then realize that you need something more to threaten this guy with, and they'll tire of it after a while. So,
But you know that in Uttar Pradesh now, IAS, IPS officers don't move their families when they are transferred. They live out of circuit houses and leave their family and children in one place, because how do you survive if you move them every 6 months? Or more than every 6 months.
I think if you send that signal to people that threaten you with transfer, clearly that will be a huge threat. And then you're fighting a losing game. You know you're losing. You're losing more every day, and you can't dig in. Maybe 1 or 2 or 3, and this number will increase if somebody shows the leadership. Says, okay, we'll take transfers in our stride. And there are people who over 30 years have had 40 transfers, who survived, who made name for themselves. I don't think it's a major issue. But you need to then see it not as a threat.
Those are also exceptional individuals, Mr. Damodaran. For example, we've seen individuals redefine institutions. We've had Mr. Session redefine the Election Commission. We've seen Justice Verma redefine the Supreme Court and also National Human Rights Commission. Those are exceptional individuals.
But I think you need to see more of those to see that it's less of an exception and more of a general rule. It's possible. There's a lot of talent in the system. Somebody needs, I think, to get this message across that you can live with your value systems, you can live in a politically neutral situation, and you can contribute.